Welcome once again all who have found themselves watching this video at this specific point in time in their lives. This is the third video in a short series called The Power of Transmutation. It is about humanity's ability to take responsibility for its own reality, to understand its power in reality creation, and to understand that when it takes back power, it can change a seemingly unchangeable world filled with chaos, ugliness, and cruelty. We have given introductions into what it means to take responsibility, and also into what it means to transmute by feeling emotions that come up and releasing them instead of attaching to them. And today specifically, we also want to talk about the power of transmutation that is inaugurated through your breath. Again, this is an ability that is innate to your physical form as humans, but is often disregarded or even branded relatively pseudo-scientifically as a matter of belief more so than a matter of science. The reality is that breath is simply the most basic form of transmutation. One breathes in carbon dioxide, one breathes out. We correct this individual. One breathes in oxygen and one breathes out carbon dioxide. One transmutes one energy into another, one type of gas into another. This is simply a very basic building stone with which the physical body works and transmutes what exists into something different. So also can you take what exists in your environment and transmute it into something different. It is also very well known in scientific spheres that breath can help still the mind and still the body that is about to edge its way into, for instance, a panic attack or an anxiety-induced state. Breath can help the body reduce feelings of temperature fluctuation. Breath can help the body heal. Breath can help the body understand itself as more than just a physical sphere of existence. And breath has been a science at large in the Eastern communities, even in many indigenous communities located in more Western nations. It is in the breath that you find truly the kernel that is spirit. And I take this also as the opportunity to introduce myself once again. I am coming through as spirit with spirit's message through this individual who is ready to channel whatever the message is. Specifically when it comes to breath, we understand that there are many teachings out there on how to breathe, what to breathe, how often to breathe, in which sequence to breathe. And while many of those have great benefits to your physical bodies and psyches, we encourage you to see breath as its own intelligence. Yes, when you allow your body to transmute emotions that come up, it is when you allow the breath to shape itself clearly and strongly that you are able to breathe out a lot of the negativity that you have perceived from other people or even from yourself. Now, a very easy way to allow the body to breathe more naturally is to sit upright, to sit comfortably, and to try not to touch anything with your back. Try not to lean. And then allow the body to simply breathe the way it feels you need to breathe, to allow emotions to flow through and transcend the body. This may sometimes feel a little out of control for you. For instance, if you feel into an upcoming emotion of anxiety or maybe even panic, the idea of the breath constricting itself or breathing more quickly seems like it would only increase the heart rate, increase anxiety and panic. However, if you allow the breath to do its thing, if you allow the body to be intuitive about how it processes the emotion, then you'd be surprised how quickly the emotion flows through you and out of you. It is once again when the mind attaches to the story behind the emotion that the emotion stays alive in the body and does not exit, therefore injuring the body in the long term. And as we had mentioned in previous videos, the problem with that is that at some point this energy must exit the body, even if violently so, even if through the manifestation of illness and disease. If we think of the body as an antenna, then the breath is all but the translation of frequency and electric impulses. There are great masters of breath that you could find in the stories located in the West, amongst, for instance, the yogis in India, or those Tibetan masters in the high mountains. If you are curious about the breath, start by listening to it, by sitting upright without leaning onto anything. And for 5 minutes, yes, even just 5 minutes, timing yourself, allow the breath to simply be what it is. Listen to it. Feel into how the body responds to it. That is key in finding inner quiet, solitude, and peace. To allow the body to breathe the way it wants to breathe in that moment. And then at times it could be of sustenance and of help to you to breathe more evenly, more deeply, even if it takes a little bit of practice or even an artificial forcefulness. Again, it should never feel uncomfortable in the body. It should simply be an exploration, fueled by curiosity. See what deep breaths can do for the body. If you're unsure of how to do so, there are many videos on YouTube on how to breathe deeply that you can explore. Find the one that resonates with you. Perhaps even the voiceover that best makes you feel at calm and at peace. Maybe there's a podcast. Maybe you're more extroverted and you would benefit from joining a relaxing yoga session, not one of those that does strong exercises, but more those that go into relaxation and find ways to breathe with others. Breathe in and breathe out. And as you make this a practice in your day-to-day, you will notice that your body is transmuting a lot of what even could be perceived as physical pain. And you will notice that your brain is no longer jumping to the most negative conclusions immediately. And you will notice that your psyche and your emotions seem more stable and in fact become so balanced that it actually takes a while for you to think back to when the last time was that your emotions ran rampant within you. These are small steps of discipline that can be of great help to the body and to you as you go on the journey of transmuting energies that might be unpleasant. Once again, we also repeat the message that when you understand and realize that you taking charge of your own energies, transmuting what you do not prefer, choosing what you do prefer instead, opting for positive emotions once the negative emotions have left your body. Yes, all these things are of great help. All these things can be of great impact when it comes to changing the world at large. Humanity was never meant to save the world or to carry all the suffering of all the other humans. This is a modern construct that was created through global media, the digital age, and the news outlets of today. This is a modern construct that is often laced with guilt and shame. How dare you not watch the news? How dare you not be informed of this war and that war? How dare you turn a blind eye to the suffering of those in other nations? You say you are not watching social media for your mental health? Well, how dare you, because those in war-torn areas have lost a leg, an arm, and here you are complaining about your mental health. But this is part of the trap. You see, if you can face the suffering, if you can see it day to day, day in, day out, and that suffering becomes so big that you can no longer process or transmute it, no, if it gets stuck in your body, well, then what? You become an antenna expanding those negative and heavy energies, even more so than if you had just simply processed the small negatives in your lives. And we call them small because small is what you perceive them to be, but each negative is simply an experience that we signed up for in advance. At one point in one life, you signed up to be in a war-torn area. At one point in another life, you signed up to be a millionaire with no difficulties when it came to abundance. Everyone has signed up for all kinds of lives. None of you has escaped the most darkest of paths or the most lightest of paths. So why judge? And now again to the topic of transmutation. Guilt and shame only expand these negative frequencies. So why not let go of guilt and shame? Approach information about these wars, for instance, with more of a objective eye. What is happening? When is it happening? Maybe even who is involved. Maybe even where can I donate? Where can I send some sort of support? But do not get emotionally attached. Do not suffer for them. You suffered for yourself in many other lifetimes. If you were given the privilege of living in a life of abundance, where quote unquote the only problem you have is mental health challenges, then take that as your warrior calling and put on the armor of positivity and insist on transmuting whatever comes your way in your own life, and insist on living with love and care and compassion, not eating yourself up because of guilt and shame that you have not done enough to save others. No, because only you can save yourself. Nobody can save anybody else. That is also part of the transmutation process. We are not saying avoid all news at all cost, but we are saying take measures to feel rested and balanced. Even if that means turning off the news for a full month, do so guilt-free, shame-free. And then maybe, perhaps, go back to understanding what is happening in the socio-political field. And then withdraw once again when you feel yourself derailing. And then go back when you feel healthy again. This is all cyclical. It was never meant to be 24/7 as it is now in your news media outlets and TVs. Why would they train you to think in terms of information or lack of information as something shameful or something to be felt guilty about? Because it's money. If you continue to consume these bad and negative news, if you continue to consume the pictures of the wars abroad, if you continue to run in depths of depression and frustration and anger, then all the more power, all the more money to these outlets. All the more power and all the more money in the spiritual fields where these negative frequencies can be increased because you put your attention on them, because you attached to them, because you made them you when they were never you, because you made them yours when they were never yours to begin with. And we say this with great care, we say this with great respect, even for those who believe it is their absolute responsibility to hold the pain of others. Please understand, at some point you will break and you will have to learn to heal. Therefore, we send a loving warning to please listen to your own bodies. Listen to your mental health. For those in war-torn areas, those individuals who do live in these terrible circumstances and situations, we send you our love. We send you our support. We send you the power and the strength you need to transmute however much you can in these very traumatic circumstances. We thank you for your service and for the very courageous missions you have taken on for the rest of humanity. And we seek out places where humanity can meet as one, focusing on the humanness of you rather than the negative tragedies of humanity. This is all part of the transmutation process. This is all part of what it means to stand strong, to be balanced, to seek peace within, and all answers within your hearts. Yes, you may not believe in God, but you will feel energy. It is everywhere. It is what everything is made of. It is all one, simply expressed in different frequencies and vibrations. If it is all one, then the little step you take today to take care of yourself, to increase your own well-being and peace, will ripple out into the most war-torn areas. We do hear some voices in the background speaking, but does it not take violence to stop the violence that is happening on Earth? Does it not take an uprising and an inner revolution to stop those people from sending bombs and war-torn situations to stop being war-torn situations? We say that there have been revolutions, there have been violent uprisings here and there, and they have caused more destruction than change. The change they cause is often glorified. History is written by the winners, and even those who were able to create good steps forward for humanity hide the darkness with which these steps were paid. So we therefore encourage you to think of positivity and your own inner balance as the most powerful approach and tool to creating a more balanced and peaceful world across all these countries and oceans. If it hasn't worked so far, why not try something else? The worst that could happen is that you simply live a better life. And the best thing that could happen is that humanity starts pulling together, and within 10, 20 years, the things that happen nowadays will be seen as atrocities that will never be repeated again. We thank you for your attention. We send you our compassion. We appreciate you even in your anger, in your frustration, and your judgment. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and goodbye.